Okay, so here we are.
Morning, folks, or afternoon, evening, night, wherever the hell you are in the world.
And welcome to the first episode of Fluff Talk.
I'm Brett. With me are Darth Sebius and Toxic of Toxic Painting. Today we will be discussing Successor chapters, in particular the Successors to the Blood Angels, as it pertains to the Dark Vaults run we're in right now. A little bit of background on the whole Successor chapter thing. Successor chapters came about directly after the Horus Heresy, where Reboot Gilman, Primarch of the Ultramarines, wrote the Codex Astartes that reorganized the Space Marine legions into chapters of 1,000 Space Marines each, in an effort to both better protect and guard the Imperium and prevent a full-on legion of, several, tens or hundreds of thousands of Marines from going over to Chaos in a shot. In terms of the Blood Angels have quite a few Successor chapters. Some of them have a lot of information available. Some of them not so much. The most famous of their Successor chapters are the Blood Angels, the Angels Sanguine, the Lamenters, the Angels in Carmine. Yeah. You guys want to add anything to that?
You were talking about the second founding when they all split off. We were just saying it's an interesting day to be a Blood Angel, not getting into the first 1,000. So just wondering how you guys would feel if you were there on the second founding day, and you're now a Flesh Terror, or you're now an Angel Sanguine.
Well, that was one thing, like I had been saying, where from each legion, from legion to legion, I feel like it was each of them, I feel, went about it probably in a different way, because every legion was as different as as one planet's culture is to another planet's culture. So I feel like for some, being rolled into a Successor chapter might be, would feel like a punishment or slight, whereas others would see it as an honor, or others still would just see it as a natural, whatever kind of thing.
How do you feel about that, Toxic? If you were there?
Yeah, me personally, I think I'd be a bit disappointed. I mean, I'm not a Space Marine, and I haven't missed out on being the first 1,000, but I think I know what it would feel like, kind of missing out on that cut. It's happened to me a few times in my life, but yeah, so pretty disappointing. But I can't see kind of how what Brett was saying, how it would depend on what chapter and kind of what homeworld you're from, how you're brought up.
Definitely, I think one of the interesting things is how much they vary from the Blood Angel originally, because these guys were all originally Blood Angels, but they all forged their own chapter and their own destiny. So it's an interesting one. So should we start looking at these Successor chapters as we go through? Should we start with the Angels in Carmine?
Yeah. Hold on, let me, the Angels in Carmine, they, very similar to the Blood Angels. They have roughly the same color scheme. They, just have, like, black trim. Their emblem is a little bit different. It's the blood drop, but with, like, bat wings, as opposed to, like, the, angelic wings. The Angels in Carmine are said to be very, very aggressive and very active. I think it says that they are rarely at full strength. They're so aggressive in their pursuit of the enemies of the Imperium.
Yeah, because it's their chapter masters, Castellan Zargo, I believe, and he can't rest at peace. He needs to be getting involved constantly all the time. So, yeah, they're literally the most active Space Marine chapter, which is crazy. You'd think it'd be one of the big original ones, but... But they've been involved in some things. They've been participated in the Battle of Rin's World, the Crimson Fist homeworld, helping them to fend off the invading orcs. But we were saying the interesting thing about them, as you can see here, is their Sanguinary Guard and their Death Company. They have a strictly white alabaster colour scheme, which is interesting.
Yeah, whereas most Sanguinary Guards, their armor's all gold, and Death Company, their armor's all black. Whereas Angels and Carmine, have the white alabaster scheme, which I think is pretty cool, personally.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wonder how many people actually do that, though, having to paint white.
I mean, if I were to do an Carmine army, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah, it looks amazing, just a bit difficult.
Yeah, that's true. I have horrible luck when it comes to painting white.
But it's a bit odd if seeing these guys all in white, you'd kind of think they'd be very controlled and ordered, but then it's a full-on Death Company in your face, sneaking up on you.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I'd want to have my armor to be white, though, to show how much blood I can spill on it.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's not going to stay that way for long, is it?
No, not going to stay away for long at all.
The other thing with them is their Death Company rarely numbers less than 30, because they've got an increasingly unstable gene seed.
Mm-hmm. That's a big thing with the Blood Angels, and you really see it played out in the Successor chapters, is how their successors deal with the Blood Angel gene defects, the Black Rage, the Red Thirst. How like some chapters it doesn't seem that particularly pronounced, whereas like the Angels in Carmine, it seems to be fairly profligate comparatively. And I think the same can be said of the Flesh Terrors too.
Yeah. So, guys, how do you feel about the Angels in Carmine? Have you had much experience with them, or any particular exploits that they've involved? Obviously, you said you'd like to have the White Death Guard in there, but do you feel anything else about them?
Me personally, when it comes to the Blood Angel successors, there are very few who really stick out as being original at all, whereas the Angels in Carmine kind of feel just like, more Blood Angels, really.
That's fair enough. So should we move on to the next one? Which one would you like to delve into next?
I think we should probably cover the Flesh Terrors next, because out of all their successors, I think they're the most well-known and probably the most popular.
Yep, certainly, indeed.
The Flesh Terrors are, of all the successors to the Blood Angels, are definitely the most aggressive in combat. They number apparently less than 400 Marines. They're very small because they're always going to war, always rushing in with teeth bared and chain swords revving. And of course, I would not want to be on the receiving end of a Flesh Terror attack. That would be a very, very bad day indeed. I think I'd fall on my sword first, to be honest.
Yeah, there are some crazy chaps. I believe you've actually played an army of them, haven't you, Toxic? How did you find them on the field?
Yeah, I think the big part about Flesh Terrors, and one of the reasons why I kind of went towards them, was because they actually have their a named character in the Codex. So that was a big reason why I kind of leaned towards them when I first did my Successor Blood Angels chapter. They play pretty much like a Blood Angels army would. It really depends on what you're going to put in there. Obviously, you're running, what's his name, Seth.
Gabriel Seth, yep.
Yeah, so you're going to be kind of building it around him. So it's very close combat. He doesn't have a jump pack, so that's why I played mine more of like a mech force. So they're all in armored transports. All the assault marines had their jump packs removed, and they would ride around in Razorbacks and Rhinos, just because I felt like it complemented the chapter master, because he doesn't have a jump pack. So that's how I played them. It's a really striking color scheme as well. They have a really nice red. It's not too bright like Blood Angels. It's quite dark.
Yeah, it's a lot darker,
yeah.
kind of like Scab Red.
Yeah, and the black really complements it.
Yeah, the black really sets them apart. Really, it's a really good touch. That's actually why why the Flesh Terrors have been quite so popular with me. Was I honestly like their color scheme more than anything else.
Yeah, they are a good-looking bunch. Although I also quite like the fact they're quite worn looking. That's one of the interesting things that came out of the books we're looking at in the Black Vault, Red Fury. There it is. But back to Flesh Terrors. They look beat up and they look like they don't look after anything, but everything seems to work perfectly. They just don't really care with the aesthetic. They're not Emperor's.
Yeah, there's no prettification of any of their stuff. It's does it work? Does it still chew through flesh? Yep. Okay, that's all it needs to do.
But they're quite a leery chapter, aren't they? Because they've been under inquisitorial investigation since the Callan massacre in M36. They've also had some crazy tones with supporting the Sisters of Battle and even taking out loyalist militia. So they do go kind of crazy from time to time. Yeah,
the Third War for Armageddon. They were deployed in the Fire Wastes alongside the Sisters of Battle of the Argent Shroud. The way it worked was the Sisters and the militia formed the anvil while the Flesh Terrors were the hammer. And what ended up happening is the Flesh Terrors chewed through the orcs and then just chewed right into the militia. And the Sisters ended up just pulling back so they wouldn't have to fight them. It says so that they wouldn't have to fight their allies, but that's all because they knew they'd get chewed to pieces.
Yeah, you don't really want to be facing them.
And the canoness in charge, or whoever, has reported the incident to the Inquisition, demanding the destruction of the chapter, which is a pretty big demand for against the Space Marine chapter.
Definitely. Well, how do you feel about their extra layeriness, toxic, and how did you factor that in with your way you worked them?
Yeah, I mean, when I played, I always went with the mindset that, I'm not going to stop until someone stops me. I'm not going to be put down, and But I mean, when you unleash something like that, you got to expect them to act like that. That's why you want them to destroy whatever in their path, and it's your fault if you get in the way.
Well, this is the tricky thing of creating Space Marines, especially the Blood Angels with the Gene Curse, so the Red Thirst and Black Rage. They're ultimate warriors who are filled with bloodlust. Things are going to go a bit awry from time to time. But
things are going to get a little screwy.
This is very true. Well, I believe it was the Canoness Dissenter who was the one with the Argent Shroud. And she's done all crazy things. She's even attacked the Angels of Vermilion Fortress, which is kind of crazy. Because she decided they were traitors.
Was that the one where they were doing some kind of ritual and it involved eating human flesh, and she landed and was all like, rah, 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 rah. And then the Angels of Vermilion were like, she looks tasty, and just wiped her and her whole little bunch of people out. Although I feel like that was some lame brain Inquisitor. I might be wrong.
I think that might be Dissenter. She's a very overzealous. Her and the Argent Shroud are kind of crazy. You don't really want to mess with the Flesh Terrors and the Angels of Vermilion.
I wouldn't mess with the Space Marines. Period.
This is very true. So should we go on to the Angels of Vermilion, as we've given them a bit of a mention there?
Sure. Yeah, the Angels of Vermilion, another very Blood Angel-like chapter. Doesn't really distinguish itself much from them, all that much. However, it says that their exploits since the Second Founding have been nothing short of exemplary and all that, but they shun all contact with their brother chapters. They're very reclusive and to themselves, and the same is true of the Angel Sanguine And outside the Blood Angels, the same is often said about the Iron Hands. And there's questions amongst other Space Marine chapters and the Inquisition about, okay, are they just reclusive and private, or are they hiding some sort of, flaw? Which that's more of a factor with the Angel Sanguine, but with the Angels Vermilion, they very much keep to themselves and prosecute their wars on their own.
Yeah, totally. So the Angels, as Fox just asked, the Angels Vermilion were eating someone. So could you clarify that? There was a ritual when they were consuming someone's body.
Yeah, I read something about that somewhere. I can't find anything about it here. I think it may have been just an Inquisitor overstepping his boundaries, and getting quite severely punished for it.
Oh,
but I'm not entirely sure.
It definitely makes them an interesting bunch. Apparently they've still got an exemplary record, regardless of how away from everyone they keep themselves. And I believe they've got the relic Scipio's Regret, an ornamental chainsword, which after slaying lots of beasts in a hive, he was actually mobbed and robbed of it, and it took a Deathwatch kill team to come and reclaim it for him. So they might eat people, but they also get rushed and have their chainsaws nicked from time to time.
Yeah, I'm looking at that color scheme right now, and it's kind of like Blood Angels for the Lazier painter. I mean, that is a lot of red. Like, the wings on the chest are red. That's like worse than a Dark Angels army where it's just green.
Yeah, they are very red. Well, that's the whole Blood Angel thing. You either add red, add a bit of colour, or just go all red. But someone was asking if we're going to talk about Blood Ravens. We don't believe they're a Blood Angel Successor chapter. You had something to say about that, didn't you, Brett? You had some theories on where they came from?
Yeah. Yeah, Kane, so like, it was a joke, but yeah, without getting into the massively monstrous debate about the lineage of the Blood Ravens, there was, like, a rumor sort of thing that the Blood Angels tried to propagate that, oh, we're successors of the Blood Angels, and the Blood Angels were like, no. And that's really the extent of it. They're not successors of the Blood Angels. They show nothing of the Black Rage or Red Thirst. There's nothing about them that makes them remotely Blood Angel at all.
Well, I think we covered that, and I think I'm going to try and pronounce Kane's name properly and not take him the wrong way again. So, which one should we go into next, do you think?
I'd really like to talk about the Angel Sanguine.
Okay. Interesting bunch.
Yeah, the Angel Sanguine are another somewhat famous successor chapter of the Blood Angels. They're fairly well pronounced in themselves. For one, their color scheme is just balls. Half black, half red, just straight up and down, beautiful.
I'm glad you said that, because we actually, unfortunately, haven't got a picture because of the numbers.
They also seem to have fairly low numbers, and that their death company seems to be pretty full. But the biggest thing about the Angel Sanguine is that they also are very reclusive. They don't. They're less hermit-like than the Angels in Carmine or Vermilion. I already forget. Damn. But Vermilion, yeah. But it really comes out more in that they never remove their helmets in the presence of anyone but their own chapter, and even then they walk around wearing hoods. And there's a scene we'll see in Red Fury where a severely wounded Angel Sanguine is being worked on by two apothecaries, and Centikin, the chapter master, orders them to stop, and very vehemently orders them, no, stop, he'll die. I don't care, stop. So one has to ask, what are they hiding? There's a lot of theories have been kicked around that perhaps the red thirst is much more physically pronounced in them. Maybe they look like, you know, gangly, shrivelly-faced vampires, or some, you know, visible effective mutation on them, which really is the only plausible explanation. There has to be some sort of physical mutation that can be seen.
Definitely. Well, that's an interesting point. What do we think? If you were to remove an Angel Sanguine helmet, what would you expect to find it there, Toxic?
I'm not sure, because from what I can remember, the Blood Angels in general, they're pretty ugly bastards until they get their gene seed, and then it kind of makes them look like pretty handsome men, like their Primarch. So maybe the gene seed didn't take too well with them, and they didn't turn pretty like their Primarch. Instead, they're still ugly bastards, and they're a bit ashamed that they don't look like their fancy-looking Primarch.
So this just in: the Ancient Sanguine are ugly. That's official.
That's quite possible. I can see that, because the Blood Angels are known for their the Blood Angels. From what I read, were actually more man pretty than the Emperor's children. The Emperor's children were a little more even in their vanity, whereas the Blood Angels are like, I'm sexy.
Let's put nipples on our armor.
Maybe we should have some kind of catwalk competition between the Emperor's children and the Blood Angels to see who really is the prettiest.
Oh, no, I think the Emperor's children would be too preoccupied blowing shit up with their sonic weapons. The Blood Angels would be too busy killing them.
Yeah, this is true. It would be interesting for a while. So, we powered through a few of those. Well, should we have a look at the Knights of Blood? Because they're renegades, which is interesting. We're at Knights of Blood. There we are.
Yeah, the Knights of Blood. Interesting color scheme. I personally don't like it. The blood red with the gunmetal silver. It's kind of.
We got a yellow kneecap and a red kneecap. That's kind of cool. But no, you're not happy with that.
Nah, it's just two colors that just don't go well with each other at all.
Yeah, see, I picked this was my latest Blood Angel Successor chapter that I painted up, and the only reason why I painted them this color was because I wanted a Blood Angels army, and I had a fresh can of army paint, one of the metal ones, so it was really just spraying metal, wash them down to a darker color, and then paint the red. But yeah, it didn't turn out as bad as I thought it was going to be, and they look pretty nice. But it is definitely one of those colors that you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, it's a lot of bulk gun metal going about there. So you actually we went from, because you had metal colours left. That's an interesting way to find yourself into an army. So they're full-on renegades. They're frenzied warrior, dangerous to friends and foe alike, supposedly, but they still purge the galaxy of the Imperium's enemies. It's an interesting one.
That's actually not that uncommon a thing where a chapter will do something really stupid. They'll be declared renegade, and they'll be like, "Okay, fuck you guys," and go off and do their own thing, but still be fighting in the name of their Primarch, the Emperor, and not so much protecting the Imperium, but killing the enemies of the Imperium. There's an Imperial Fist Successor chapter, the Soul Drinkers, that pretty much do the same thing.
Okay.
They're just like, corrupt Imperium, kill chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be the same. I mean, the Imperium and everything does nothing but, fair and kind of loathe Space Marines and doesn't really do much for them. But, I still love my Primarch, still love the Emperor, so I'm still going to fight for him, but I'm not going to fight for for the
Imperium.
Imperium itself. It's
Basically, I'm gonna fight for the Emperor and my chapter. Screw the High Lords of Terra.
And then they die in a Space Marine story. That's basically how it works. But one of the things I thought was interesting about the Knights of Blood is in 999 M41 they assisted the Blood Angels on Baal with the demonic hordes of Kar-Banda and the Tyranid High Fleet Leviathan. But being branded renegades, they kept their distance. Like, that kind of gave me some serious 40k feels there. Like, I'd never heard of the Knights of Blood until recently.
They're renegades, but they still came out to help the founding chapter and whatnot.
But keeping a safe distance not to taint them with their rebellion.
Yeah, so and I'm sure that was another thing where they're like, okay, if we're all of a sudden fighting, shoulder to shoulder with them, the Inquisition's gonna be like, oh god, excuse we've been looking for. Because when it comes to the Blood Angels, the Inquisition is really suspicious of them and all their successor chapters.
Yeah, nothing to do with them kind of being very vampiric.
Yeah, nothing to do with that, not at all.
So, did you, Toxic, did you play them, so were you playing them as loyalists or as traitors, or how did you work that?
I was playing them with the Blood Angels Codex, however I did have plans to kind of make them kind of play Chaos as well, using the same models and like maybe bring out a few, because it's kind of undecided how, if they actually have gone, Renegade and actually gone Chaos, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting to play around with a few ideas where I could add in a couple of different looking models. So yeah.
Awesome. They're much darker, aren't they, when you look at them?
Yeah.
They could be a bit more naughty. So you said you just played them with the Blood Angels Codex. So you played them as being sort of loyalists.
Yeah, I just played them with the Blood Angels Codex, but it's because when I play my games, I like to have some sort of story in the back of my head, so it's kind of fun when you play one of those armies that's like, oh, could they be good or could they be bad? Because then you can kind of verse anyone and have it make sense.
Well, yeah, definitely that makes sense. And also, you could almost turn the tide halfway through a battle if you had some kind of three-way or four-way skirmish going on. Could make them very interesting. So is that that probably covers us for the Knights of Blood, unless you've got anything to add, Brett?
Nope.
Nope. They just have a special place in my heart because of keeping their distance. I just felt very sorry for them. You could almost say I was lamenting. Now that could be that could be a link.
Well, with that woeful pun, we shall now talk about the Lamenters. The Lamenters are another Blood Angel Space Marine chapter. They are interesting. Their chapter emblem is a heart with a drop of blood falling from it. Their chapter colors are yellow and feature frequent repetition of black and white checkers. Yeah. These are the ones whose gene seed was very pure, but they were also of the cursed 21st founding, where they either make absurdly terrible decisions or just have terrible frickin' luck. During the Badab War, they sided with Luft Huron and the Astral Claws, and after the defeat of Huron, they were given the Emperor's forgiveness and sent on a penitent crusade. And all penitent crusades go to one place, and that is the Eye of Terror, and, well, good luck. The Lamenters were not present at any of the, successor meetings on Baal. I believe this is because they were too busy trying to not die in the Eye of Terror. That's my explanation for their non-presence.
So they've not been heard from at all since, have they? The chapter master, Malakim Forrest, possibly deceased, we just don't know. They're 300 last time they were contacted. I just like the fact that they're that unlucky. As one of their main traits, that they're just extremely, extremely unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where I heard it from, but I believe a lot of the chapters that were founded, I think they're like, I can't remember what founding they were in, but I think a lot of the chapters that were founded at that same number have that kind of unlucky trait.
The 21st founding had a lot of problems. Like, you had the Black Dragons, they have those weird, arm blade mutations. You've got the Firehawks, which became the Legion of the Damned, the Lamenters. You got the Flame Falcons that are all Bernie. And a bunch of others that just went to shit.
Well, it's kind of it's kind of the freaky founding. Like, there's nothing really that wrong with them. They just look a bit odd. The Inquisition can't handle that.
They just have some. I mean, like, what I don't understand is, like, you look at the example, the Black Dragons. I mean, toss them into close combat with anything. I don't give a shit if you have a power axe. I just stuck my arm through your face. Like, for some of them, it's like, okay, my mutation has made me an even more potent weapon, but I'm not a normal genetically altered mutant fucking space marine. So the Inquisition is like, no, bad, die.
Yep, and we all lament the Lamenters because they're just a very sad and unlucky chapter. How did you find that when you were playing them, Toxic? Did you have particularly unlucky rolls?
Honestly, I kind of felt like I did. I really liked them, and I just wanted to paint some yellow and try out some of the army painted yellow, and it worked like a charm. They're really fun to paint, but I kind of scared myself out of playing them. I'm not even sure if I got a game in with them before I sold them, because I'm just like, I don't even know if I want to bring these guys to the tabletop. Like, I know there's nothing different. They're the same plastic kits. It's just the paint job.
The yellow.
But yeah, I kind of scared myself out of playing them because of the unluckiness of them.
Well, you need to lose them in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
Something I'm doing is because I play Chaos, I play Red Corsairs, and because the Lamenters had sided with the Astral Claws during the Badab War, I'm actually going to be taking some Loyalist models, painting them in Lamenter colors, and then, blotching out their chapter emblems to show that they've, gone over to Huron and all that.
Oh, that's very cool. So,
which is a very common thing for a lot of, renegades who go over to Huron. They don't bother repainting their armor. They just literally take red paint and X out their chapter emblem.
That's fair enough. I can't believe so they're given the Emperor's Forgiveness after being smashed by the Taurons. 100-year penitence crusade, is that kind of standard? I know it's not that long for a Space Marine, but it's quite a long time.
That's pretty much how it went. And who knows what the hell they're up to now? If they're still
probably dead,
Yeah, they're probably dead or have returned to some crazy Khorne devoted Chaos Renegade warband.
So who would be the most mopey god? Who would be the appropriate god for them to go to? It can't be Nurgle. He's a happy chappy. The best I would say would maybe Slanesh, because maybe he'd be able to appreciate the odd feeling of despair. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, something delectable in their despair. I also quite like the fact that they've got their the Banner of Tears. So after the Badab War, the chapter banner was a tattered remnant, and they were given the Emperor's Forgiveness, and the Adeptus Sororitas repaired and purified it, and the handiwork was inspired by the Emperor, and they wept as they wove it. So it's the most emo banner of all time. That is going to put the fear into your enemies, I definitely think.
Yeah, I feel like the Blood Angels chapters, they have like a scale, like just like a slider bar, and it's like one is like completely furious, and then you slide it down to the other end, and it's like recluse. Like you go somewhere in the middle, and it's like mopey crying.
Yeah, so the Blood Angels are kind of stuck up and austere, and then everyone else are just leery or mopey.
Either really mopey or really, really angry.
Very, very angry. They do like to get angry. I think we've looked at most of them. I think we haven't touched on the blood swords and the blood drinkers yet. So should we have a little look at the blood drinkers there? Again, looking rather similar to a standard blood engine, really. Not a great difference there. So, do you have anything you want to say about those, Brett? The blood drinkers?
Yep. Hold on with me 1 second.
So they're another second founding or unknown.
Yeah, these are another. Yeah, there's conflict about the about which founding they're from. Some say like a Lexicanum says second, but the 5th edition Blood Angel Codex says unknown founding. Yeah, like they're not very different visually from the Blood Angels. They're I like the chapter emblem though, how it's a chalice with a blood drop over it. The chalice is a very important piece of imagery in all things Blood Angel, because you have the Blood Angel and their successors. The apothecaries of the chapters are referred to as sanguinary priests, and they all, carry chalices with them at all times, from which they, drink the blood of Sanguinius and all this. It's a very important item, very important piece of imagery, and then more so for the blood drinkers because, well, they're the blood drinkers. So
the clues in the title.
Yeah, and they suffer a particularly nasty degree of the red thirst. Yeah, they're particularly bloodthirsty. Quite literally, they have a literal bloodlust, and I want to liken them to the World Eaters. How the World Eaters seriously cannot think about anything other than killing, and the Blood Drinkers are constantly driven to drink blood. So,
because it's even said they have a full-on air of aridity, so they're literally dry from the amount of blood they constantly need to be consuming to slake their thirst, which is kind of crazy. But they're kind of some bad mothers though. They participate in the cleansing of a space hulk, Death of Integrity, with the Nova Marines, taking out the Tyranids in a ratio of 53-1. That's some serious numbers. Also, very this really kind of intrigued me when I read this. There's a squad of 10 Blood Drinker Marines were in a damaged cruiser landed on an apparently loyal planet of Carcassonne, only to find the governor, Folger Sagramazo, had declared independence, and then they were picked apart by a squad of Titans for sport and amusement, one by one, killing all of the squad until only the sergeant remained. And he went into a coma, and luckily was found by some Imperial Fist later on, told him about the Titans, and they managed to escape. Giving him he was so wounded, he was given 2 simian servitors and a mobile chair. Love it. You've been ripped apart and treated badly. Here's a couple of monkeys.
Here's a couple of monkeys and a Space Marine wheelchair.
Yeah, what more could you ask for?
And he's probably just like, how about you hand me a sword and try to kill me? I think I'd feel better about myself.
But yeah. The other thing that I particularly like about these guys is their chapter master is called Orlok. So he's literally named after Count Orlok from Nosferatu. That's kind of cool. Like, it almost makes you think that maybe that's what the Angel Sagmen look like. They might even look like the kind of.
Might even look like Count Orlok.
Yeah, that kind of ugly vampire, opposed to the "Hi, I'm gonna chat you up" kind of vampire.
Yeah, the I can't come in unless you invite me in vampire.
Yeah. So what do you think about the Blood Drinkers Toxic? How do they?
Yeah, I think there's a few tasteless jokes to be said on a chapter that drinks blood, but apart from that, I mean, all these secondary chapters kind of make the Blood Angels seem kind of normal.
Well, yeah. Oh, horrible images of them tangling with the Sisters of Battle now. I wish I hadn't said that. So yeah, they were. Well, they are probably the most vampiric and literally named vampiric of all the Successor chapters. So yeah. And I think the last one that we've got is the Blood Legion. But not sure if we've got a picture of them as well. Got the Blood Swords. There they are. Blood Swords. They're another unknown founding. Homeworld of Jaggerfall. With their crimson and white shoulder pads and the bleeding sword. Anything you want to add about the Blood Swords, Brett?
The only contact I've ever had with them is has been mentioned in Red Fury. It's really the only mention we have of them is in the Blood Angels Codex and Red Fury, where they're really just mentioned. Like, yeah, there's a Successor chapter called the Blood Swords, and that's it. We know nothing about them aside from their homeworld, who their like previous chapter master was, and that's it. We know nothing else.
Yeah, his chapter master was actually a dreadnought, wasn't he? And he actually died defending Sanguinius, so that's kind of epic. That's not something that the other Successor chapters really get, well, other than obviously in Red Fury, but them getting that close and giving their lives for their Primarch, it's kind of nice to them to see that, to get that moment. But again, they're another one of the tricky ones, because Red Fury names them Blood Angel Successors, but again the Codex says they're not. Regardless of the name, they're not them. So that's a tricky one.
Yeah, that's another the Blood Angel Codex is like, they don't claim to be Blood Angel Successors. But, okay.
What James Swallow says they are.
Yeah, James Swallow says they are, so,
and we all know how well he handles the Blood Angels.
Yeah.
So yeah, he probably is the authority on that.
Yeah, I feel like some of these chapters, like, there's just so many of them. I feel like some of them are like 5 guys just sitting around a table. I mean, you got like all these unknown homeworlds, unknown foundings. It's like, it's like the Blood Angels at like 1,005 Marines, and like, you 5, make your own chapter. It's like there's so much unknown about them. It's like give them some more information about it.
Well, go on. Some are yellow with check. Some are different colours. Like they're all Blood Angels. As you said, some of them are a bit more angry, some are a bit more mopey. But what more do you want? They all like Sanguinius. So yeah, I think we've covered most of the chapters there. This has been our first episode, so I'm sorry if it's been a little bit hit and miss. The way we've been running it, but we should be a bit more professional next time we get up. Is there anything you guys want to add about the Blood Angel Successors or Successor chapters in general?
I made my own Successor chapter once for the Blood Angels. They were called Angels of Anarchy. They had Space Wolf blood claw heads, because they got like the little fangs and the shaved heads, and I had the Anarchy symbol on all my tanks and stuff. And they were like black armor with really pale flesh. So yeah.
Nice. So the Sons of Anarchy, did you say?
Angels of Anarchy.
Angels of Anarchy. Okay.
Yeah.
They're a different chapter from Sam Crow.
Yeah.
Actually, I had made my own Blood Angel Successor chapter once too. I'm gonna keep them to myself though, because I'm actually trying to write about them for Black Library, so I can't be divulging them. Okay,
that's a shush. Other things with the Blood Angels that intrigue me personally is the whole Daunian heresy fact that they go to Nurgle. I'm thinking about taking some of those boys for my Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah, the Dornian heresy and its completely swapping of the Horus heresy. Yeah, because some will know how Sanguinius, when he came to fall upon the planet of Baal, there are two different kinds of tribesmen, hundreds of tribes on the planet, but you have the mutant people and not so mutant people. He was found by the not so mutant people in the real timeline, whereas in the Dornian heresy, he was found by the not so mutant people, but then the mutant people killed them all and were like, "Oh hey, we're taking this kid, thanks." And then, from there, Nurgle was speaking to Sanguinius in his head and all kinds of schizophrenic shit.
Well, that's one of the interesting things. There was a post on Tumblr a little while ago about whether there was actually people that could be worshipping Nurgle for aid with their mental health as well as their actual physical health, which is kind of an interesting thing. Because a lot of the time Nurgle does show things quite nicely at first, and until you realise it's all rotten and horrific underneath. So that could kind of work.
That's I like true. The idea of some Nurgle Blood Angels, just so you can get some like Nurgle jump pack guys, and it can kind of make sense with some fluff. Because it's actually not a bad unit to use in the game.
Ooh, that's gone right up my flagpole. I quite like that.
Yeah, I've really wanted to also to experiment with Nurgle Blood Angels, but I just
well, that's covered that. Ice-tailed Greg was saying he's got his own custom chapter army, the Ice Wings. They sound quite cool, and they're teal. So yeah, that's an interesting colour scheme. Teal is like aquamarine, right? Is that right? Anyone?
Yeah, like a greeny blue, I think.
Yeah, or rather fluorescent. Awesome scenes. And apologies to Toffee P for missing the Flesh Terrors. I'll pop him there. There's Amit for you. Keep you happy, and you'll be able to watch it back and see the Flesh Terrors we saw earlier. We're running a kind of 47 now, so unless anyone wants to add anything in particularly, we should probably say our thank yous and do our notifications. Well,
anybody?
Nope, fair enough. Well, I would like to thank Toxic for joining us today, talking about the Successor Blood Angels. Are you going to be coming back and seeing us again, or are you? Yeah, what's your plan with that?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to come back and talk, do some fluff chat if you'd have me back. Yeah, so
definitely.
Awesome scenes. It's kind of nice to have the fact that you've played most kind of armies and quite a lot of chapters, so we can talk to the cows come home about what they do, but you can actually put it into action, which is quite kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's actually, I feel that's a very, very good thing to have, is okay, here's the fluff, what does that mean for the game? Yeah.
Well, if no one's learned anything, I've learned something, and I'm going to have some Blood Angel Nurgle Assault Marines, which will be fun.
Who needs Raptors when you have Assault Nurgs?
Yeah, damn straight. I like it. So we've got, as far as announcements goes, we've got the second Black Vault coming on the 17th of April. It's going to be the third Wednesday of each month. We're going to be looking at Red Fury and Black Tide, the end of the Blood Angels saga by James Swallow, and to be honest, I'm kind of glad that we're getting to the end of that and hopefully looking at the Elder.
Yeah, I was just about to say, thank God.
Yeah, I still like the Blood Angels. I'm just not sure how I feel about James Swallow now.
Yeah.
Toxic, do you want to have a bit of a chat about how things are going to work with the hammer from now on?
Yeah, the hammer is being obviously, if you haven't noticed, Rob stepping down from the hammer. I'm going to be running it now. It's going to at the moment it's me, Seb, and Savage from Battle Bros, and that's going to be we're looking at, and it's pretty much settled for at least this week, Saturday at 7 p.m. West Coast. So I think that's 10 in the morning. I mean, 7 a.m. West Coast. I got that confused this morning as well, and I need to sleep, and then that'll be about I think it's 10 a.m. East Coast.
Yeah,
so it'll be a morning one, but
it's 3 p.m. for us in the UK.
Yeah, so hopefully if you're in America and you can't watch it because it's a bit early and you'll still be asleep, at least some of our UK viewers might be able to check that one out. So that's what we have at the moment. It might change times depending on obviously what people are doing on the weekend if they can make the show. But this week's one will be Saturday, 7 a.m. West Coast.
3 p.m. UK. So people are asking, Brett, what are we thinking for next Fluff Talk? Have you got any ideas percolating, or do you want to hear what people want? What's going on?
For the next Fluff Talk, well, because our next round of books are going to be Eldar, I was thinking maybe talking some about the Eldar. Just because, yeah, it would make sense. And the Eldar are just so fluffy that you can't not. There's so much background to them, so much story, so much good stuff, so much feels that you have to.
There's a bit of a calling for Tau with the Tau release. People are getting excited about. Well, we need to settle on. Are we doing this 2 weekly? So we could almost look at the Tau next and get into the Eldar when we go into the next episode for Path of the Eldar. But
actually, I think what would be better is we could just do a Xenos episode and talk about the myriad bloody alien races of 40K, the Eldar, the Tau, the Orcs,
the Nids, yeah,
the Tyranids, the Hrud, and some of the really not very the smaller alien races. I forget the name of it. I read about one the other day. They're like ridiculous, nasty pirates that remind me a lot of the Strogg in sheer level of brutality. But yeah.
Awesome. See, but there's the weird floaty guys and the guys that make up the Cabal. There's a interesting bunch. Well, I think we could probably do a couple of episodes on that. But I think
we could probably do 2 or 3 episodes on the aliens alone.
Awesome things. Well, I think I might bring that to a close there. Thank you everybody for joining us, and putting up with quite how rusty this first show has been, but I think it's been fun, and we will see you next time. And probably should we stay around for a little bit of a chat afterwards, boys? Are you up for that?
Yeah.
Awesome scenes. Well, I shall take us off for a minute and then we'll be back on.